Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're actually going to pick an image from a gallery and save it to parse using our newly created photo class. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fire up a new intent, and we're going to set its type to this image/star. That's going to tell Android to look for applications that kind of support this incoming intent where we can select images. And let's see, we're going to set this action to action.getContent. We're going to create a chooser, and then we're going to specify this request code. Don't worry too much about the specifics about this code. It really just takes like 3 seconds to go to Stack Overflow and copy it, to be completely honest. And oftentimes, whenever you need code like this, where you want to launch a picker or a camera, you can just really easily find the code online. If you do want to really thoroughly understand how this works, then I recommend reading the Android documentation for intents. But for now, just go with it. You know, this intent, it's basically looking through all of the applications that let you pick photos. All right. So now what's going to happen is we're going to start activity for result. Now what happens is when the activity is finished, when the user has finished selecting the activity, this onActivityResult method is going to be called automatically. In here, we want to make sure that the request code, we want to make sure that this onActivityResult is being called for this intent right here. Suppose we had launched multiple intents, for example, and one intent had finished before the other. One intent was for finding some kind of random file, and then the other intent was for picking the image from the gallery. We would need to make sure that the onActivityResult was called for the correct intent that we fired up. And so we make sure that it is equal to the gallery request code, and we make sure that the activity finished with an OK result. We want to make sure that the user actually selected a photo, which we do with this if statement right here. Now let me uncomment this guy right here. What we got access to is we got access to a URI. Basically, when we do data.getData, that gives us a URI, which we can then use to open up an input stream in the content resolver. So the content resolver, what that means is you have a gallery application, right? Now the gallery application, it's a completely separate app from what you have, right? Its files are private to yours. So in order to read data from the gallery application, we have to use this content resolver. Now this the content resolver gives us access to those files because we can open up an input stream, and we open up the input stream using this intent that we have right here, and we just grab the URI from that intent. Now we're running into a compiler error because we need to wrap this in a try-catch block, but we're just going to open up an input stream. Let's see here, file input stream is equal to that, and now I'm going to wrap this in a try-catch block, catch IO, actually it's file not found, exception e.print stack trace. Now this method is starting to become a little unwieldy, so I'm going to extract it into a separate method, private, let's see here, private void load image. And let's say that this image, it needs to come from a URI. URI, let's say path to image. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to extract this try-catch block. I'm going to put it inside of here. We're going to get a compiler error. Oops. Let me copy this guy. Path to image, load image, and then we're just going to do data.getData. There we go. Alright, so now notice that what we want to do is we want to save this guy to parse, right? We want to create it. We have a photo class, right? And we have this photo file. Now we want to save a file and we want to save a user, right? So in order to create the file, we need to use something called a parse file. So parse file, we can create it like so. I believe, let me look at the constructor really quickly. We need to either pass in a byte array, which contains the contents of the files, or we can use some of these other methods. Let's just use this byte array because that's easiest. Okay, so now we need to somehow convert this input stream into a byte array. What is the best way to do that? Well, let's think about this. We want to use a byte array input stream. input stream is equal to new byte array input stream. And now let's see, what is this constructor? No, that's not quite what we want either. It might be the byte array output stream. Let's try that. Byte array output stream is equal to new byte array output stream. This part is probably one of the more confusing parts to reading and writing input in Java and Android especially. I know it's pretty darn confusing. So what this is going to do is it's going to, let's see here, we're going to write to a buffer. So let's create a buffer. Buffer is equal to new byte. I'll explain what this code does in just a bit. 0 buffer.length. And then let's see here. While input stream dot read into buffer is not equal to -1. Okay, now that should work. I believe we need another catch block right here. IO exception e.print stack trace. There we go. Okay, so now let me go through this convoluted looking code. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up an input stream to the URI that we got. This is going to give us a flow of data we can read from. In order to read from this data, we're going to read from it in 1024 byte chunks. So we're going to break up the data into 1024 byte chunks, and we're going to fill up this byte buffer. So we're going to read that many bytes in, right? And once we read that, we're going to read these bytes into that buffer, basically, from this input stream. If the read method returns -1, then that means there's no more data to read. But if there is data to read, right, if it doesn't equal -1, then we're going to want to write out to this buffer right here where we have this output stream. And wait a minute, that's not quite. Yeah. So we're going to want to write the contents of this buffer out to this byte array output stream. Okay, so think about it this way. We have an input stream, right? We're reading in data, and now we want to write it out to a byte array. Now this byte array, it's separate from this byte buffer up here. So let me clarify that. It's equal to this right here. So what we're actually doing is, and let me move this guy up here just to further clarify what's going on here. We're reading in bunches of data. We're reading in chunks of data, and we're writing that all out to this output stream right here. So we're reading it in, and we're writing it out, and we're storing that inside of this large byte array called output. Now, once we have that large byte array, we're able to construct a parse file. Now that we have a parse file, we can do a couple of things. We can save it in the background, but that's not quite what we want to do. We don't want to save it just yet. What we want to do is let's just return it from this method. Or how about we do this? We'll return a byte array. Now, this byte array is just going to be equal to that right here, and then otherwise we're going to return null. All right, there we go. So now byte picture contents is equal to that right there. And now we can construct our photo object. So to do this, we can do a couple of things. The easiest way to construct this photo object is to just go about doing it like this. Parse object, photo object is equal to new parse object, photo. Photo object dot put photographer. Now in this case, we're not actually logging anyone in, right? We're not requiring the user to log in. So we're just going to leave this guy blank for now because we're not actually logging anyone in. But we are putting in a file, right? So we're just going to put in a new parse file. such that the file contains this byte array right here. But we don't want to do that if the picture contents are null. And this could happen if the file was, I don't know, if the file, if something happened while we were reading and we weren't able to read the entirety of the file. Now, one very crucial thing that I forgot to close my input and output streams. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a finally block right here. So this finally block, if you remember from your Java lessons, it ensures that like no matter what happens inside of this try block, no matter what happens inside of these catch blocks, the finally block is always called. So all we're going to do is we're just going to do output stream.close, but this itself, which is really annoying, throws an exception, so we have to catch it in here as well as outside of the finally clause. E.print stack trace, and now we also need to close this input stream that we have going on. So input stream file input stream is equal to null. Now we need to check if the input stream is null because it could have messed up when opening the input stream, and it would have just fallen into one of these catch blocks, and that's a problem because then the input stream would be null, and we would be trying to close a null reference, which doesn't make any sense. It would have crashed our program. So we have to add in this safety check right here. If file input stream is not equal to null, then file input stream dot close. And again, this is pretty annoying, but we have to wrap it in a try catch statement. And there we go. Alright, so this is safe code. It ensures that all of our input stream and output streams are closed, so we're not leaking any memory or doing anything bad. And now that we've done that, we've created our parse object, we've created this photo object, we actually need to save it, right? So in order to save it, we're going to use the save in background method. Now, in order to save in background, we just call photo object.save in background, and we pass in this callback. So this is just an anonymous inner class that's called automatically when the photo has been saved. And when it's been saved, we first need to make sure that we didn't get an error. Now, in order to check to see if we didn't get an error, we can just add in this check right here, if e is equal to null. Otherwise, if we did get an error, then we're going to do e.print stack trace. Okay, now let's see here, what else do we need to do? If we were able to save, let's just make it toast. Not this. Successfully saved photo. And let's make it short and let's show it. Alright, cool. Now let me open up my emulator, and I don't think I have any images. So what can I do here? I'm gonna let's see here. Can I download any images somehow? Let's see what happens when I run. Maybe it'll work without using something else. Okay, so it's installing. And let me go here. Alright, take photo. Okay, nice. So let me go to my downloads. Maybe I have something. No, I don't. Okay, it looks like I actually need to download something. So let me go to the browser. Okay, so let's see here. So how do we download an image? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I already have a Dropbox. I just uploaded an image to Dropbox, and then I copied the Dropbox link into tinyURL. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna retype in this tinyURL link right here. I'm gonna put it in, and it's going to load me my image. Then I'm just going to download this image from Dropbox. I know it's a little convoluted, but it's the easiest way I found. Okay, so here's our image. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the application. Let me run the application. Where is it? It's called Photo Share. I'm going to take a photo, and I'm just going to select the sun picture, and we get the successfully saved photo toast, which means that we should see our image in parse now. So I'm going to open this up, and yeah, so there's our image in parse. So in this tutorial, we learned how to save a parse object to parse. We learned how to use the photo class, and we uploaded an image. We used these various input streams and output streams to load in and load out the image data, and we used the parse object and parse files classes to save the actual photo to the cloud. Alright, so in the next video we're going to look at how to deal with this photographer, how to deal with this user pointer, and we'll learn how to show a list of all the photos that have been sent to the user. Alright, I'll see you then.